Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Wishing all of you a most wonderful morning and a warm welcome to Brussels for SEMIC 2024. This year's conference, organized by the European Commission in partnership with the Belgian Presidency of the Council of the European Union and Digital Flanders, is setting sail under the flag of Interoperable Europe from vision to reality. I also extend that warm welcome to the many participants who are joining us remotely through live stream, since this is a hybrid event. Thanks a ton for joining us from your home offices, your meeting rooms, or your secret shelters. My name is Philip. I enjoy both the pleasure and the privilege of being your master of ceremony for today, to introduce our different high-level keynote speakers, to guide you through our exciting program, also to gently keep track of timing and schedule, and to be your jack of all trades when things go mayhem. And today we want to explore the meandering path from vision to reality that will ultimately lead to a genuinely interoperable Europe. So the theme of our SEMIC 2024 conference is directly aligned with the objectives of the Interoperable Europe Act that was recently adopted, aiming to bridge the gap between the visionary goals of a seamlessly connected European digital public sector and the tangible actions, policies and strategies required to bring that vision to life. And just to paint you a picture on that long-term vision that underpins the Interoperable Europe Act, the latter report on the single market states that full interoperability across all public administrations could boost European GDP by 0.4% and would also lead to an increase of roughly 15% of citizens who would use online public services. It would also help those European citizens to save up to 24 million hours each year and allow businesses to cut costs with roughly €500 million every single year again. So the stakes are high and the rewards are clear, and we need to keep our eyes on the prize to jointly foster a more interoperable Europe. And that, in my humble opinion, also requires, say, a change in mindset, a shift in mindset, if you like. Whilst we are shaping new legislation, we must already anticipate how those new laws can impact interoperability. How can we promote, facilitate, and encourage data sharing between different governments? Can we proactively design new digital public services, and how to embrace technological innovations to modernize the public sector and to provide value for money for the European citizens who are, by the end of the day, the very customers of our public services. And I'll let you in on a little secret here. When I was filling in the registration form to attend this very conference, I needed to fill in my name, my country, my exact address, and then I was asked to pick from a drop-down list the time zone I was sitting in. Now that leads me to believe that there is still some room for improvement when it comes to designing smart, proactive digital solutions that serve the needs of the customer. And of course, with 27 member states and a myriad of different public administrations, building an interoperable Europe becomes a jigsaw puzzle which is exceedingly challenging, but also exciting to accomplish. And today we want to drill deeper into the policies, the action plans, and the strategies to lay down a path that will bring us from this overarching vision towards reality in our day-to-day lives. And we're both grateful and delighted that we have the opportunity to tap into a vault of knowledge today and to pick the brains of high-level policymakers from the European Commission, the powers that be in digitization and administrative simplification from both Belgium and Flanders, and experts in connected data spaces, in artificial intelligence and semantic interoperability from different member states. Some of you may have participated to the workshops yesterday on linked data event streams, on AI in support of interoperability, or cross-border semantic operability. Well, those workshops kind of served as a fertilizer for our program today, our program that features high-level panels on the Interoperable Europe Act, strategic sessions on the next generation of digital government, and more technical tracks on innovation and interoperability solutions in public services. So I, for one, am keen and eager, ready, willing and able to dive headfirst into our program and to kickstart an exciting and fascinating SEMIC 2024. But before we get started, allow me to share a couple of, say, domestic announcements with you. First and foremost, we do not have a fire drill planned for today, so if you hear an alarm, it's likely going to be the real deal. In case of an emergency, the floor lights will guide you to the exit. Well, honestly, they won't, but I've always wanted to say that in front of a big audience. Thank you so much. We do have, for good notice, we do have an emergency exit at the back of this room. There's one at the front that will guide you directly through the exit of the building as well. So in case of an emergency, that would be your exits. Also, thanks for putting your mobile phones on mute. If nature is calling, we do have toilets just outside, so you leave this room, you kind of take a U-turn because the closest toilets are next to the silver room. Please make sure that you also wear your badges visible at all times, so that we know that you are part of our party. And again, this is a hybrid event that will be web streamed, that will also be recorded. If you're not comfortable with that, may you please blur yourself. We do have a hashtag for this conference, which is, unsurprisingly, SEMIC 2024. So thanks for using that hashtag to spread the word, to share your thoughts on social media platforms. You can also use SEMIC 2024 on the Slido platform. We will be using later in our program during the panels and the interactive discussions, the Q&A sessions with our speakers and panel members. We will be using Slido, and you can enter Slido using this event code SEMIC 2024. And of course, a hashtag would be rather meaningless without a wireless network, so do feel free to use our Wi-Fi. Login would be SEMIC 2024 in capital letters, and the password is also SEMIC 2024, capital letters with an exclamation mark. In addition to the content of our conference, I'd also like to draw your attention to the exhibition, which is just outside, so in the Silver, in the Magritte and the Delvaux foyers. You are all cordially invited to touch base with some 20 exhibitors who will showcase their innovative projects on semantics and interoperability, and who are looking forward to welcoming you with passion and purpose. So please do take the chance to visit our exhibition during the coffee breaks or over lunch. And that lunch and those coffee breaks, for that matter, will also be served in the exhibition area. For those of you today who want to live forever or who choose to become immortal, we have designed a photo booth to serve that very purpose. So by all means, take the opportunity to make your own homegrown SEMIC 2024 picture. That could be a selfie, can be with one of your colleagues or with your team. So in the exhibition area, we also have a photo booth. And then, as the late Steve Jobs would have said, there's one more thing. On popular demand, we have introduced our multicolored cards again. I have a faint feeling that you might be sitting on them. We've handed them out when you entered the building. Those cards are as green as a football pitch at the front, and as red as, well, a red card at the back. And I plan to use them as my secret weapon to pick your brain and to harvest the wisdom of this crowd. And just to get the hang of it, I'd like to try that out with a simple yes or no question, if I may. So allow me to throw already a yes or no question at you. And I'd like to see either green or red with this card. Question goes like this. After their lackluster performance against Ukraine yesterday night, do you think that the Belgian soccer team will win the European Championship football? That's green for yes, red for no. No. and I'm seeing, say, roughly 20% greenish. And I can't help but notice that all of the others seem to be voting for the Red Devils. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, that's enough for me, I would think, at least for now. So let's kickstart our SEMIC 2024 conference. And to set the scene for this year's event, I'm happy to give the word to the Stadler and Waldorf of Semantics and Interoperability. So may you warmly welcome George Lobo, who is Program Manager EU Policies at DG Digit, and Reinhard Leroy, who is Program Manager Digital Strategy at Digital Flanders.
Yeah, I will try to keep this brief, so because you're waiting for the program, listening to this program we lined up for you today. It's a great honor to be here at the opening, making the opening of this conference. I'm the one on stage, but it's important to acknowledge the work of my colleague Alexandra, who cannot join us unfortunately today, and who has been really making the architecture of this event. So I would like to, her dedication has been really instrumental to make this a success. And although it's not an Oscar ceremony, but I would like to extend my gratitude to the colleagues and contractors who have helped us to make this event. So a big applause to them as well. And so thanks to you all for the support and to answering to my hundreds of emails harassing you for finishing in time. And also I want to have a special thanks to Digital Flanders, who has been a co-organizer and has been in all the meetings, who is here on behalf of the Belgian Presidency, and in particular to Reinhard, that we get to know each other very fast, and I will extend to you.
Thank you. Welcome to SEMIC 2024. In good collaboration with DG Digit, we actually put together a very interesting program for you today. So, and certainly it's a pivotal time. The Interoperable Europe Act has just been approved and published, and now we're actually looking into making this from vision to reality. So the topic of the conference is very up to date. We're at the end of the Belgian Presidency. So let's have a very interesting day for you and with some good networking opportunities. Enjoy.
Thanks a lot, George. Thanks, Reinhard, for giving us a sneak preview of what we have up our sleeve for today. I, for one, am absolutely looking forward to our program. And at this time, I am delighted to hand the stage to your real hosts for today. And again, this year's conference is organized by the European Commission in close collaboration with the Belgian Presidency of the Council of the European Union and also Digital Vlaanderen, Digital Flanders, and to voice the perspectives of the European Commission on how to bring the Interoperable Europe Act from vision to reality, I invite to the stage the Director General at DG Digit. Please welcome Veronica Geffe.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and welcome to the 2024 edition of SEMIC. My thanks also to the Belgian Presidency and to Flanders. This is my third SEMIC, but the first edition of SEMIC took place in 2011 in Brussels, attracting 100 people from 22 countries with representatives of European public administrations and private companies. Building on the success of the first conference, and with data becoming increasingly important, SEMIC became a regular get-together for policymakers, ICT experts, the ICT industry, and researchers to discuss topics like data standards, data governance, and information exchange. Over the years, SEMIC conferences also began to cover more diverse topics related to interoperability, including linked data, data analytics, the integration of AI in public services, and fostering a more connected and interoperable digital ecosystem across Europe. These events also helped to promote good practices and use cases and collaborative platforms and resources, like core vocabularies and the European Union Location Framework, providing practical tools to improve data interoperability. SEMIC has increasingly been aligned with broader EU digital strategies, such as the Digital Single Market and the e-Government Action Plan, and more recently the EU Data and AI Strategy, as well as the Digital Decade Policy Programme. The Interoperable Europe Act entered into force a couple of months ago, so this year's conference is really special. We will explore how we can transform the vision defined by the Act into concrete implementation, how we move, as the theme says, from vision to reality. We've achieved a lot since our conference in Madrid last year. We've turned the Commission proposal into law, with some obligations starting as soon as next month, more coming early next year. We have heard a strong call from Member States through the Council conclusions on the future of EU digital policy to continue our support for the development of interoperable public digital services and cross-border interconnection of public administrations' infrastructures. We have worked with you in the Member States to prepare the ground for the interoperability assessment guidelines, and we've worked with Commission services to ensure dedicated funding to build the capacity to carry out these assessments through the technical support instrument. We have also listened, and we've heard, the request of Member States to support stronger collaboration among them. We will fund a coordination and support action on innovative and connected public administrations, and we will further support pilots under the GovTech incubator. We also support the creation of a European Digital Infrastructure Consortium, an EDIC, between Member States, which could serve as a long-term structure for such collaboration, even after the projects finish. And we've done our own homework within the Commission. We have strengthened collaboration within the Commission with various services to ensure that the Act can be implemented effectively in our own organisation. I'm sure in a year's time we will be able to have an equally impressive list of achievements, even more so as the Interoperable Europe Act creates the incentive for us to act and to act together. This is exactly what brings us here today, our joint enthusiasm for interconnected digital public services. Let's keep this positive energy as we move towards the next political cycle, which will need to focus a lot on implementation. Over the years, SEMIC has built a strong community of stakeholders committed to improving semantic interoperability. The conference has become an important venue for sharing knowledge, fostering collaboration and driving innovation in digital public sector public sector digital services. We count on you as our growing community to continue to improve interoperability, and with that, digital public services for a more connected, more inclusive, more competitive Europe. We count on your expertise and active contribution when implementing the Act and making the vision a reality. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Veronica, for hosting us here today, and also for the tireless efforts of DG Digit in preparing the future of European digital policy, where interoperability is clearly high on the agenda and top of mind. I also heard a warm plea for collaboration and cooperation in this field, and I think that the conference today will serve as a forum to connect those dots. My next speaker started his professional journey as an account manager at IBM, I'll have you know. Meanwhile, he is a seasoned politician with a long and strong track record. He happens to be the mayor of Braschaat. He is the Flemish Minister for Foreign Policy, Culture, Management of Facility, and, of course, digitization. So this is a man who wears many hats, but only one crown, that of Minister-President of Flanders. We are grateful that Digital Flanders, Digitaal Vlaanderen, is supporting the Belgian Presidency and the European Commission in organizing this conference, and we are honored to have amongst us here today the Minister-President of Flanders, Jan Jambon.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the SEMIC conference, and it's an honor to see so many people physically present here in Flanders, in Brussels, as well as seeing so many people online. June and July of 24 might be tipping points for Europe. There have been elections in many of our countries, and in less than a week, a new European member state, Hungary, will take on the presidency of the Council of the European Union. Our Flemish Belgian presidency is thus finally coming to an end this month. We want to end on a high note today. We want to step down with an absolute bang of a goal, as we have already seen a lot of them in Euro 24. This SEMIC conference is a unique opportunity to reflect on our successful presidency of the European Council. We did our absolute best in the interest of Europe, and we hope we have made significant improvements in the month during our presidency. Our leading principles are reflected in the acronym STAR: smart competitiveness, twin transition, all together and reaching out to partners. We looked to strengthen Europe's commitment to innovation, connection and resilience. And we believe a strong European presidency can serve as a catalyst for the implementation of a European agenda. We gladly took up our role in forging consensus among member states, actively pursuing the achievement of the EU goals and emphasizing the importance of interoperability as a cornerstone for collaborative progress. Flanders' role was not just participatory, but instrumental, steering the Council's efforts towards a more integrated and unified future. Flanders is committed to the Interoperable Europe Act in this journey towards an interoperable Europe. We aim to eliminate unnecessary legal, organizational, semantic and technical barriers, setting a new standard for collaboration that the entire European Union can be proud of. This is the first step in cleansing Europe from its negative connotation as a lavish, over-detailed and intrusive rule maker. Europe is there to help, not to make things more difficult. In the spirit of the Interoperable Europe Act, we are dedicated to enhancing interoperability between Flemish administrations, municipalities, private partners, strategic research institutions and, of course, the European Commission. Technology is evolving at lightning speed and governments cannot afford to lag behind. By sharing platforms, components and expertise, we are strengthening governments and giving them the leverage to tackle societal challenges with more power, more confidence and more resilience. This is how we'll unburden government entities and ensure efficient use of scarce resources. For example, the role of Digital Flanders Open Standards for Linked Organizations, the Oslo program, is crucial to the Flemish data strategy. Oslo is built on the principles of linked data and the foundational elements of the World Wide Web, which have become essential in our society. Since its beginning in 2012, the Oslo Initiative has become Europe's most impactful interoperability program for ensuring that different systems can work well together. Our dedicated and robust partnership with European organizations has strengthened our reputation as a leader in making systems compatible with one another. Currently, there are 132 approved standards and 70 candidate standards in development. The digitized legislation involves machine-readable rules and enabling direct interpretation by IT systems, while its technically challenging linked open data has demonstrated its feasibility for the decision-making process of local governments in Flanders. In fact, all Flemish legislation is integrated into the Oslo Protocol. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, this facilitated regional insights into local measures without additional investments, surveys, or exerting control. Another example is how car navigation systems running on linked open data will automatically adapt their interface when local governments change speed limits or other traffic regulations. This automation of legislation, adaptation and implementation brings us one step closer to realizing Europe's vision of law as code in Flanders. Honored guests, the Oslo Protocol and linked open data do not exist in a vacuum. They are parts of our everyday life. They are parts of our hybrid ecosystems in which the digital and physical worlds cannot be seen as separate any longer. I am a firm believer in the role of governments should play in facilitating ecosystems. They should be the creator of the data universe. The data and platform economy is truly all about collaboration, trust and security. It's up to us to find ways to work together and create added value by opening up business opportunities within a trusted and shared digital platform. And that is why Flanders believes in the concept of data spaces. In tomorrow's world, data spaces are a big part of the solution. But, of course, you need a lot of data for data spaces to work correctly. And not just any data. It's got to be the correct data. Today, this data is often locked in server racks in basements and inside complex siloed systems. The data stored there is not always standardized, and if it is, there are a lot of different approaches to it. It is nearly impossible to efficiently let this data flow between different systems, let alone between different regions or EU member states. It takes a gigantic effort to simply unlock that data, since there is no entry point that you can use to get the data. However, there is such an entry point in the data space Flanders envisions. One where new applications and services can also be developed on top of the existing data platform. Data could then flow and be utilized more efficiently. Unlocking this data will enable us to make better decisions and develop new services. A significant hurdle to unlocking that data is the trust we dare to instill in a data space. Whenever we develop a data space, we should ask ourselves, would we want to share this sensitive data with the government, with rival companies, or unknown individuals? It all comes down to a matter of trust. Would you share your sensitive company data with others? Of course, nobody would do this without any sort of assurance. An independent player is needed to be responsible for trust between partners. You need someone reliable who creates a level playing field where everyone can participate. The private market will not solve this trust issue alone. It's up to the government to act and create a level playing field where all parties can safely take part. As we speak, Flanders has established a data utility company, Atumi, specifically for this. Atumi aims to solve the data paradox once and for all. The data paradox is twofold. On the one hand, we all want personal and proactive services. On the other hand, we see a growing concern about what happens with all the personal data we share for these proactive services. So how on earth can we bridge this apparent lack of trust? I believe it's all about control of data. And that's exactly what Atumi revolutionizes. It's a third way between an Eastern Big Brother and a Western free-for-all. It's a unique European approach. Atumi ensures citizens have full control of their own data, hands-on control regarding who can access and use their personal data for how long and to what extent. New technologies, such as the SOLID standard developed by Sir Tim Berners-Lee in collaboration with Flemish universities, offered Atumi promising solutions. SOLID restores users' control over their own data. On their terms, their data can be shared and used for next-generation services and applications. It's an up-and-coming solution for which we gladly look to Europe for further aid, development and implementation. Esteemed attendees, having a well-functioning data space can accelerate the digital transformation of our society even further. Technology can be used to solve private and societal challenges. We should think about digital transformation as if it enables change through the force of technology, the power of data, and a well-developed strategy. These three elements are where the magic happens. AI has been reaching breakthrough after breakthrough in recent years. The number of individuals using it at all levels of society in particular skyrocketed. Amidst these highly interesting developments, the AI Expertise Centre of Flanders is trying to grasp what all of this means. The AI Expertise Centre tries to monitor the usage of artificial intelligence in enhancing the efficiency, the effectiveness and innovation of our governmental services. This centre not only supports the use of AI within the Flemish public administration and the local authorities, but also embodies the transformative force that reshapes how we organise and innovate our service delivery. Cooperation with other countries and regions is key because we face the same challenges. For example, we are participating in the European Digital Infrastructure Consortium on local digital twins to share knowledge and develop joint solutions to the same societal challenges that we face. We are grateful for the opportunity created by the European Commission to facilitate collaboration with these consortia and to scale up digital solutions more quickly and more efficiently. Dear audience, it's time for me to end this speech. The European Presidency has been a wonderful opportunity to funnel my deep interest in digitalization to a wider audience. Under my leadership, we managed to propel Flanders up eight places in the International DAISY Index, and I had the opportunity to share with all of you how we did this over the past 6 months. There is no more fitting ending to this success story than hosting a last European conference on the importance of digitalization. And I look forward to intensifying our collaboration with the Interoperable Europe program and the SEMIC community. I'm eager to see what the future brings Flanders and Europe in the digital world. If there is one thing I want to end with, it's my firm belief that Europe can and will be on the top of the world in the data economy if we continue to work together. I thank you all.
Thank you, Minister President Jan Bon, for sharing your vision on harnessing data and unlocking the value in that data. I also heard a warm plea for building trust between public administrations, citizens and the private sector. And thanks again for Digital Flanders for lending us a hand in shaping this conference. Let's go out with a bang indeed. To close the circle, I again want to acknowledge the support of the Belgian Presidency of the Council of the European Union. For the opening keynote this morning, we had invited the Belgian Deputy Prime Minister Petra de Sutter. Unfortunately, this very morning we received notice that she's not in absolutely perfect health, so we need to excuse Petra de Sutter because of health reasons. Needless to say, we wish her a very speedy recovery. Of course, this kind of leaves the spot open for the opening keynote speech. It renders me, honestly speaking, a little bit exposed, but I would propose to generously share that exposure with you, with this audience, by asking you one or two more yes or no questions. So if you could reach for your card at this stage. I, for one, just to know which kind of audience I'm addressing today, I would want to understand who of you is up to speed with the Interoperable Europe Act that was recently adopted. If you've heard about the Interoperable Europe Act, you may want to show me a green card. If it's the very first time you discover, there's some odd ones out, but I think for the majority of this crowd, We will be preaching to the converted today. Maybe a follow-up question to add on that, especially for those of you who voted green, and do bear in mind that this conference is web-streamed, recorded, and will be in the memory of the internet forever. Who of you who just voted green has actually read the Interoperable Europe Act? Wonderful, I seem to be talking to an educated audience today. Wonderful. So we will be preaching to the converted a little bit. For those of you who have not read the entire legal documentation of the Interoperable Europe Act, allow me to condense that into a couple of minutes. So we're about to see now a video intervention on the Interoperable Europe Act and on the vision of the European Commission on interoperability in Europe and between public administrations. So may I have your unbiased attention for the video intervention of our European Commissioner for Budget and Administration, Johannes Hahn.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, welcome to this year's SEMIC conference. For over a decade, SEMIC has been promoting interoperability, reflecting the vision of an interconnecting Europe, based on trustful cooperation between people and member states. This year's edition celebrates a new reality, where cross-border interoperability of public services becomes a legal routine, where cooperation among member states turns into a regular co-working practice. We have a jointly owned governance structure to jointly move forward digital government transformation in Europe. Earlier this month, Europeans went to the polls to elect a new European Parliament that will appoint the President of the Commission and the new College of Commissioners. As we look towards the next Commission mandate, we see an unparalleled opportunity to positively transform how our governments operate. By advancing interoperability and digital government, we advance towards a truly connected Europe at the service of people and businesses. I am very pleased that this was also requested by member states in the recent Council conclusions on the future of EU digital policy. Interoperability and digital government are crucial elements in building a more efficient, competitive, yet inclusive Europe. A Europe where digital solutions and the exchange of data between administrations improve government operations, reduce bureaucratic inefficiencies, and save valuable time and resources. A Europe characterized by a seamless digital single market, where interoperability supports innovation, economic well-being, and cohesion. And finally, an inclusive Europe where citizens have the freedom to stay, enjoying user-friendly digital public services wherever they live, as the recent report from Enrico Letta says. Interoperability is the key to help provide automated and proactive public services to everyone, regardless of their location or socioeconomic status, and without the user having to ask for it. Inclusive, transparent, accountable, effective, and efficient. Only by working together can we advance towards this goal, and the structural cooperation and joint ownership set by the Interoperable Europe Act provides the ground for it. It's high time to spread the culture of digital ready and interoperable by design in the public sector. On that note, I'm very pleased to inform you that the Commission itself will introduce systematic digital checks to ensure interoperability by design in EU policy initiatives. Dear friends, together we can build digital government services that are models for responsible digital transformation, open to cooperation across administrative levels and borders, open to cooperation with innovative businesses and civil society, and open to cooperation with our partners in the world. I wish you an inspiring and fruitful conference.
Well, that opening address already provides us with quite a lot of food for thought and a clear direction on the way forward to translate the vision of an interoperable Europe into reality. And we will be hosting today in this plenary room 2 high-level panels on the recently adopted Interoperable Europe Act. So this morning we'll start by organizing a meeting of the minds to outline the vision for cross-border interoperability of digital public services. And at the end of our program tonight, we'll engage in another session to discuss challenges and solutions, including changing that mindset and building skills to make that vision a reality. So we'll start with the vision. We'd like to end up by tonight with the tangible reality. And I just saw a lot of green cards, so I likely need not to convince this audience that the Interoperable Europe Act introduces a structured, a co-owned EU cooperation framework for public administrations based on an interoperable Europe board and portal, mandatory interoperability assessments, and also innovation and support measures. And our first high-level panel will outline again the vision underpinning this act and discuss the pillars required to make that vision a reality. So with the new Commission, the new European Commission, taking office soon, what needs to materialize in, say, the next 5 years? How can we start already today in paving the way towards a more interoperable Europe? And if we were to host a new panel during, say, SEMIC 2030, what needs to be achieved in order to call our action plan a success? To address those questions and to seek answers from our experts, I am glad and also a little bit relieved, I must admit, to pass the baton to the moderator of this high-level panel, Natalia Aristemuño Perez, who was responsible for the interoperability unit at DG Digit prior to becoming the Director for Digital Enablers and Innovation.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Happy to see a full room. You didn't stay outside to enjoy the sun, but I'm really happy. I will first invite our panelists to join me here on a stage. So first, I would like to invite Emilia Stoimenova. I hope I pronounce it more or less okay. She is Minister of Digital Transformation for the Republic of Slovenia. Please, thank you. Then I would like to have Markus Richter, please. He is Secretary of State and Federal Government Commissioner for Information Technology in Germany. Thank you. My next panelist is Jan Smets. He's the CEO of Digital Flanders in Belgium. Welcome. And the last one, Veronica Gaffe. She is Director General of Digital Services of the European Commission. Yeah, let's. So, as you have seen, well, we have already heard quite a number of keywords for today. We have heard about interoperability, that's for sure. We have heard about data. We heard about AI. And I think there is where we can see, okay, how we can look not only at interoperability, but having the holistic vision of public services, how we can make our public services proactive, resilient, and how we can make sure that we make value out of all this data. And we do not forget how we can innovate. We will see. It was mentioned, we are going to look at the vision. And you may have seen, so you thought there were bubbles on the screen, on the logos. But in fact, no, we have the crystal ball there. So you just need to look carefully to it, and you will see the vision for the future. I hope we will see at the end of the day if we look well to this crystal ball. So I don't want to spend too much time just talking about all what we have heard, but I want to focus and start immediately with you. Let's start a bit looking at, okay, where are we now? Which are our, or your current focus areas in digital government and cross-border interoperability? So taking also into account not only the Interoperable Europe Act, but also other initiatives that are out there, being it on data, AI, you all know. We have quite some work to do. So I would like to start with Emilia, if you can share with us where you are, which are your focus areas right now.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure being with you today. So when we're speaking about interoperability internationally, first we need interoperability on the national level. And in Slovenia, so I don't know how well you know what is going on in our country, but we did some advancements in several areas. What we experienced was that everyone was working into silos. So things were not connected together. You had some digital solutions in health, you had some digital solutions in public administration, and so on and so on. But the things were not coordinated. And that is also one of the reasons why our government established the Ministry of Digital Transformation. So at the Ministry of Digital Transformation, we're some kind of a coordinator on a national level, not only for the digital public services deployment, but also for the digital transformation as a whole, not only for the public administration, but also for the businesses as well. This was a very important step in our country because now we know what is going on around the country, and we are also establishing a council of digital transformation, which means regardless whether the Ministry of Justice or the Ministry of Finance would like to introduce a new digital service, first they need to go to this council, and then the council, when they have all the checks, that solutions will be interoperable, then they can continue with the development and deployment of the service. This is very important because otherwise things will never be connected together. So this was a good a lesson learned, what we experienced in our country. And otherwise, we already have a tray, a solution called a tray, which is a backbone of our digital services, where different organizations, not only from the public administration, but also from the businesses, can get access to data as well. So we're developing, we're also upgrading this digital solution. It is very important that we are participating in many European projects. One of them was the Digital Europe for All large-scale project, very important one. Also, my colleagues are participating in the Single Digital Gateway working group, many additional projects like Potential for the ADAS, and so on and so on. And I'm also happy that Slovenia was one of the first European countries that on a national level already implemented the once only technical system for the exchange of experience on a cross-border level. So as you can see, interoperability for us is very important. Maybe it's also because we are coming from a smaller country and we are fully aware how important it is to have interoperable solutions on cross-border level as well. As you can see, legislation is maybe the first part, the vision part, but what is very important is to move on the reality, and here a lot of coordination is needed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now let's hear from Germany, Markus.
Convinced that the future will bring us quite a lot of changes, not due to the fact that there are crises coming after each other in a very brief time, but also to technology which changes rapidly. And at the same time, we've got to be aware that we are focused on sovereignty. I mean, we still want to make decisions by governments in the future, and I'm convinced if we don't create a digital future together, then we might be depending on solutions which companies offer us. So it's important that we come a little bit closer together. And when I look at Germany, we are coming from the history to a state which is run by 16 states. So we are not talking just about one state in Germany, but 16. They are all independent when it comes to digital solutions. They are responsible for themselves. So we've got a lot of islands. We've got 11,500 cities. They are also responsible for themselves for digital solutions. And we see that we can't create the future in a structure where the processes are so diverse, that we have to change something. And therefore we implemented something which is called in our country One for All. So we have contracts between the federal level, the states, the cities, which says that one of these entities should create a solution, a software, which is then run also for the others. And of course, it's not only a question of software development. It's a question of standards. It's a question on improving the processes. I mean, digitization makes visible the task we are having, the challenges. We are facing them also in the analog world, but we don't see them as clear as we do it through digitization, because IT is about 0 and 1, so there has to be more clarification on how we work. So digitization is really much more than just thinking about software. It's more about improving our model of public administration, and this is not only a question which can be solved within Germany, but it should be solved in a cross-border cooperation, and therefore interoperability is much more in the focus right now in Germany on the European level, because of technology changes and threats we are facing. And at the same time, we want to save the free space internet, through a more cooperation on a EU level. And I think that's great to be here and see so many people who are working on this as well.
Thank you. Now let's move to Digital Flanders. Which are your focus areas now?
Well, let me first start with thank you for having me, and thanks for the agency to being part of SEMIC 24. So it has been a pleasure to be part of this. There's an advantage and a disadvantage coming after your minister. The advantage is that most that I wanted to say has been said. The disadvantage, obviously, is that most what I wanted to say has been said. But joking aside, I think from our perspective, obviously, the agency would try to be the driving force of the digital transformation within Flanders. And I can relate to a number of comments that already have been made, because we strongly believe that in a way to achieve those goals, that cooperation is key. And cooperation, one of the ingredients of a good cooperation is obviously interoperability. And together with our regional colleagues here in Belgium and also our federal colleagues, I think we are on a good path to achieve those objectives. Our focus obviously is on making sure that digital transformation is realized. So from the agency, we actually are building different solutions that go into that in that solution. And the one thing what we haven't mentioned, I think, is on the whole security aspect. I think when you do cooperate and things are interoperable, I think we have to pay significant attention to the whole cyber and the whole privacy issues which come with that. And that actually brings me seemingly to the whole Oslo story. I think in Flanders we have been at the forefront since long of this interoperable program. It is actually a best practice that not only we use and export within Belgium, but also outside. And I'm very pleased to say that Oslo has arrived in Oslo. So I think that's the way forward, and we're more than happy to play a role in that.
Thank you. And in the European Commission, Veronica.
Thank you very much, Natalia. We're focused on some very practical things at the moment, which is putting in place the structures that are created by the Interoperable Europe Act. So there will be an Interoperable Europe board, established under the Act, which has a legal mandate to drive, together with the Commission, the further development of cross-border interoperability in the Union. So we are in the process of establishing the board. We've asked Member States to nominate their representatives, and we aim for a first meeting before the end of the year, to be ready for the deadline of January 2025, when interoperability assessments become mandatory. We're also asking Member States to nominate national competent authorities who can coordinate questions related to the regulation. At the same time, the Act creates obligations on us. All European Commission, all EU institutions, bodies and agencies must appoint an interoperability coordinator. And for us in the Commission, we must comply with the obligations of the Act under the steer of the interoperability coordinator, but we are also responsible to enforce the Act. So in this latter task, the Interoperable Europe Board, I think, will help us. And basically, both of these roles, interoperability coordinator at the Commission, and Commission representation and chair of the Interoperable Europe Board. In fact, I will be taking on both these roles, so thank you very much, Natalia, for giving me more work for the future. But it's going to be, I think, really interesting that things we did kind of informally and out of enthusiasm in the past, now we have a legal mandate to drive forward, and we must make sure that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, so we were talking about vision, and I would like all of you, so not only our panelists, but also you in the public here, but also the ones online. I would like that we look at this crystal ball. And okay, we know we have very rapid technological changes. I mean, now the speed is amazing. So where would you see the digital government going in 15 years? I think it's kind of indeed looking at the crystal ball. But I would like to see, share your visionary thoughts for the future. And as said, there will be, normally there is a Slido somewhere where you can also provide your ideas for the digital government in 15 years. So I would like to start with Emilia. Which would be your ideas for the future?
So for the future, a lot of times in our country, I hear we don't know what the Ministry of Digital Transformation is doing. And I'm happy, because if you don't know what the Ministry of Digital Transformation is doing, then everything works fine. Usually people know that something is not working, that appears in the media. So if we are not in the media, it seems everything is clear. And this is my vision for the future, that all the services, whatever you need from the government, it will work just smoothly, personalized. So it will be according to your needs, to your desires for everyone. So this will be not only my vision, but my wish, that every citizen will receive services with great user experience, with great usability, and that you will not even notice that they're there.
Thank you. Marcus.
Yeah, I'm convinced that within the next 15 years, we will come to common infrastructures. Cross-border infrastructures for public services. Due to the fact that, technologies changes, we've got cloud computing, we've got the open source topic, we've got the need for more cooperation in the field of AI, and therefore my vision would be to have a common infrastructure, common platforms, standards on connecting platforms to each other, so that we will be more able to share solutions, even though we will be free to do what we want to do as member states, It's more like a marketplace from which I can receive my solutions easily and where competition is there, so that governments have options, more options. I'm convinced that we won't be able to maintain and to improve options if we are just doing it on a national basis. you know, because we have to have a market standing, and I'm convinced we only will achieve this, and we will better achieve it if we work closer together than we did in the past.
Thank you. So, Ian.
I didn't bring my crystal ball, sure. Looking forward, actually I've been old enough to be part of the other technology waves, and if I look at how the internet has reshaped the world and how the mobile has reshaped the world, I think what's happening today with AI, with data tech, it has never been so intrusive, I think, in terms of change than what we're seeing. I don't think it's very easy within that challenging environment, you know, to predict what's going to happen in 2040. But I do have a vision, as in where do I think the digital service needs to go, and our digital service needs to be personalized and practical. And I think you already mentioned it, and I also agree on not reaching the headlines, because you know that would be a good thing. But to have the personalized and the proactive service, and we're not there yet, but that's surely something we would be looking to shape. I think the whole AI move, everything related to data, actually are the ingredients to achieve that. Interoperable systems, hopefully, will by then not be the exception, but the rule, because we can only achieve that, and that relates then to Marcus' comments about, I think, the common infrastructure, as you mentioned it. You know, we are linking it to a government as a platform, which is, I think, very similar to what you say, and that's where I think the changes will come in.
Thank you very much. Veronica.
Building on what others have said, I think 10 to 15 years, digital government will be the norm, and we won't notice it. So we won't be making a big fuss about it at all. So we'll become invisible in the future. The other area I think that I hope really where we will see a difference is, and we're already starting to work on it now, is digital ready policy making. And we're already making preparations for the next Commission, that there will be a digital check on all new policy proposals right at the very early stage of the design of any new policy, with a view to creating a more seamless digital space where we can all collaborate, member states with the European Union institutions, and this would contribute, we hope, towards reducing the burden, the reporting requirements on member states, and make everything a lot more seamless. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see also from the Slido replies, I would say that in general there are positive thoughts about the future. I saw a bit of some negative, but I think that if we have a positive vision, then we will reach the positive output. What I have seen, I have heard about we all, if I may say, become invisible, meaning that our citizens and businesses will have, they won't need to ask for services, they will get them, so proactive services. I also heard that we have all the ingredients. We have interoperability, we have data, AI, other technologies that are out there. I also saw something that was not fully mentioned, but is trust. So that's also something that I think we have to build with this vision that we should have. If we are not in the media, probably the trust is there. We need a marketplace to choose which solutions apply best to our needs as public sector. So I see that we have really a lot of ideas, ingredients to put all that together. So now let's start coming a bit closer to reality. And I would like to see with you which will be then your priorities. So we see, okay, we know more or less where we would like to be in 15 years. Now let's see, okay, for the next 5 years, which will be the priorities to put all these ingredients together and reach out the vision that you have mentioned. Emilia.
Thank you so much. So this is a harder question because when we are speaking about digital public services and interoperability, we always have to have in mind the user. And we are speaking about public administration, private sector, and so on, but the user is one person only. And we should start from the user. What are the tasks he or she takes during the day? What are the activities, the experiences he's taking during the day? And we want for her or for him to make his life easier or her life easier. So whenever we're developing these solutions, we have to have in mind the person, the user, and then to develop everything around that. And when we have the user in mind, then it's not only the services he or she is using, but it's also the skills he or she has. And here we come with another topic that we need to work on. We're speaking about interoperability and digital public services, but most of our countries are facing with the lack of digital skills with our citizens and also with our public administration. So if we want to develop digital public services that have the best user experience, that we also need to have public administrators that understand what this is. So for our priority at the Ministry of Digital Transformation, if we are not speaking only about interoperability, but also is to make sure that our citizens have the digital skills that are necessary and that our public administrators have the digital skills that are necessary. Then, of course, common infrastructures are very important. I already mentioned that in Slovenia we do have a digital backbone, we have a lot of digital solutions, and now we must make sure that everybody is using them. It's not enough if we provide common infrastructure. If the European Commission is providing the EDICs, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, and so on, but the member states, the organizations, need to make full use of them. If they're only there and the organizations are not using them, then we have done nothing. And you mentioned trust. Trust, one is cybersecurity, but also trust is, do we get value out of those infrastructures that are available there? And we always say we need to collaborate, we need to work with each other. But if we don't trust the ministry in our own government, how we can trust someone in Germany or maybe in some other country that it's not so like-minded like our country? So again, to build trust among different organizations. And another thing as well is to make sure that these services, solutions that are provided by the governments, by the public administration, can be also used by the private sector as well. So for example, in Slovenia, we already have the eID, which can be also used in the health system as well. So we are making dual use of our electronic ID. But for us, it is important that the same is used for authentication and identification of our users in the private sector as well. So this is when I started that we have one user and the user doesn't care whether it is private or public, but he or she needs to use the same solutions. So maybe 3 priorities. First, to know what is already available there and really to raise the trust between the citizens that they can use that, to improve the digital skills and to make sure there is collaboration. We're speaking a lot about international collaboration, but also private-public collaboration.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, picking up what Emilia just said about user-centric way of providing governmental services, I think it's important to put this in the center and at the same time to elaborate a little bit more what is our cross-border strategy on questions which also affects the back end, like AI. You know, we've got the AI Act, and I think it's great to see how Europe achieved a legal framework within Europe within the past recent years. And now it's up to us to fill this up with life, cross-border. So when I talk about strategy on AI or cloud computing or open source, then I understand under this a common agenda to make it happening. because I'm convinced that we won't be able within the next years to solve this on a national basis. I mean, we are talking about interoperability and standards, of course. And there we are not only talking about technical standards, but also semantic standards, data standards. And we will see the more we are connected, there will be dependencies. And each member state in the next years won't be able to change their whole system, not regarding to the cross-border connection points. And therefore we need more. We have to realize that we are then running a common IT infrastructure. I'm convinced we are going into this, if we want or not, and we've got to be aware of it, and we should really work on this through such an agenda, putting concrete points on it and to make it happening. And I think the Interop board could be a great place to fill this up and to really look at these different areas which affects these fields.
Thank you. Jan?
The Minister President already mentioned, so we've had some European elections, we've had also some elections in Belgium. So from an administration point of view, we have had some reflection on where we think we should go in the next 5 years. And one of the key points, obviously, and I relate to the point on infrastructure, is that's where it all starts. That's investing in a robust infrastructure, but also from a starting point from a shared digital strategy, because I think that is key indeed to build the infrastructure. And it's actually on top of that infrastructure that you can build the different services, government as a platform. If I can relate to the previous point, when we're talking about personalized and proactive services, actually there's a very big component around inclusion, because when we design digital services, we need to make sure that they are as inclusive as the analog public service. And that's its challenge. If I look at some recent data, I do see a number of people who are not with the latest technology, but I also see a lot of people who don't want to be with the latest technology. And that makes it hard to design your digital service as an equivalent to the physical. And what I believe will be the changer there is that the data use, the interoperable way of using data between systems, between agencies, between cross-border, between countries, will be a game changer there. And that's our focus point in the years to come.
Okay. Veronica?
Once we put in place the structures for the interoperable, under the Interoperable Europe Act, I think then we need to start really moving forward in practical terms. And for the Member States, we're preparing interoperability assessment guidelines, which we will support their implementation. I'll say a little bit more then about the digital ready policy making, because I think we've realised within the Commission, we were always committed to it, but I think what we've done within the Commission, we've suddenly got the interest of the most senior policy makers within the Commission. And the word that has been used several times at meetings I've been at about the digital ready policy making, that this is a game changer, because this will mean that we look at the digital aspects of proposals at the time of policy planning. We know in the past, sometimes our DGs only woke up to the necessity to design something digital at the point when the legislation had been proposed, has gone through Council, has gone through Parliament, perhaps the Council has added additional reporting requirements, and then people say, oh, we better do something digital. It's far too late. And far too late in the context of where we're talking about where we want to go. So under our new approach, which we're going to put in place under the next mandate, there will be digital checks at the time of policy planning, digital ready guidance, a digital statement, and we'll have a digital ready policy making service as well. And my ambition would be that through strengthened governance within the Commission, we would be able to actually stop certain developments of IT systems and actually say, put conditions on them and say, no, you can't go away and develop a new IT system. You must go and reuse the IT system that's already there and available. So my ambition would be that we will take some real steps in that direction in the coming couple of years, I hope.
Thank you. So from what I have heard, and it reminds me also some discussions I had in the past, where we very often we develop our public services, and in fact we think we know what our citizens need. But indeed, so we provide those services, and then we realize that they are not used, as you were mentioning. And we think, but they are the best services that we could build. They are super nice, friendly, and so, but they are not used. And I think there you have tackled some of the priorities that we have to look at. Is it because of skills, lack of skills? Is it because of mindset or willingness? How we make sure, and this was also indicated in the slide, not letting anybody behind. And this is, I think, quite a challenge, how we will be able to also bring technology and bring innovation to deliver those services. I would like to bring one example, because I think it can also help, where sometimes as public administrations, we want to use the latest technology, we want to be there, but sometimes we just need to think how the citizen thinks, how this single, be it private, public, doesn't matter, but how they need. And I'll bring one example. In Spain, we have quite a rural space, so you see we have a lot of villages which are very isolated. You have, villages with maximum 10 people, okay? So you can imagine that we cannot have offices for all the public administrations in all these places. And on top of that, most of the population in these villages is quite old people, so quite far from technology. Say, how we can make sure that we bring to those citizens our services, how they can use them. And, you can have everything on mobile, but are they going to use mobile? Are we having all the infrastructure that is needed in all these areas to make that? So, they had an idea in one of these regions where they say, normally in these villages you always have, I would say, in Spain is very often the bar, the church, and the bakery. Those are the things. So, close to one of these, you build just a small room where you will have a video connection with the public administration that will be wherever. So, from a technological perspective, also what they did, this is why sometimes when we talk about technology, we try to make things very complicated. But there, you would enter the room and you would have a button, green, because red would be a bit, So, an old person would enter, or whomever, but they would enter, they just tap on the button, and they would have immediately in a screen someone that would help them with all the administrative requests they would have. So, I wanted just to bring this example because I think sometimes we talk AI, we talk data, we try to do the best services that we can think of, but in fact that's not what our citizens need. So I thought that it's interesting to indeed change a bit the mindset, look at the other side of the window and see, what our citizens need. And indeed, for all that we need much more cooperation. We need to put together things. We don't need to reinvent each time the wheel. So I think this also brings a lot of increasing the trust and making sure that we have this usage of our services together. And this also helps having our public administrations much more efficient, because sometimes we complicated our lives alone. So I think that's, so thank you very much for this. Now we are moving to the end of our panel, and I would like, you already mentioned, but I would like, and you can, we have still a bit of time, so you can elaborate on what will be your wish. You know, we are having the vision here, so I would like you to have a wish. It can be a wish for the audience, a wish for your own services, a wish for the Commission. We'll take note, we will see. But so just now the time for wishes list, Emilia.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And actually, this is exactly what we did in Slovenia, what you were mentioning in Spain. So last year, we introduced so-called DG Info Points. When we are speaking about using what is already there, it's not only about the infrastructure, IT infrastructure, but also the networks that are already there. I fully agree, no one left behind, but there are people who want to be left behind. So, and we need to take care for them as well. And that's why in Slovenia we're guided by the digital first principle and not the digital only principle, because there are people who will never use the phones and so on, or don't want to use internet, and it's okay if they don't want to use it. So in Slovenia we introduced 162 DG Info Points. And we are collaborating with the post offices, because this is what rural areas have as well, and also the Chamber of Commerce. So there are physical 162 offices out there present at the post office or the Chamber of Commerce or the library or the municipality and so on. And people can go there, and it's not a video call, but it's a living person. So there is somebody who is available for anyone. And it can be elderly person, it can be an entrepreneur, it can be a young person. If they have any issue, any challenge, how to use digital service, and we wanted to make sure it's not only the public services, but it's also the private services. So there is somebody there who can help them and support them. And we saw this as a great practice. These DG Info Points are really visible now in the society as well, and people are there visiting them, asking for help, because in Slovenia we have e-health digital services, so that after Corona was very much used. There are also every day, actually, there is almost a new digital service introduced, and now people are getting used to what we are experiencing, especially with the older people. At the beginning, they were afraid of using digital services, so they need someone to show them how to use it. Then they come back and they want to use, and somebody just to monitor, because they don't want to break something or to do something wrong. So when speaking about interoperability, let's use the infrastructures that are available, but also the networks that are available there, because this is how we're also getting trust with the citizens. They already trust the networks that are persistent. So what is my wish for the future, also for the new European Commission and for our governments as well? We're doing a lot of legislation, which is great, just the public services. We think we're doing the best legislation out there, but we also need to implement that. We have now the AI Act, we have the Digital Governance Act, Interoperable. We need to implement all this legislation. That's why it is very important that we have regulatory sandboxes as well out there. And we work with them to see how the things will work into reality. And another thing, let's not just adopt some act, but make sure that we use full, for example, the Digital Europe program. You need to check whether you have gender equality. But then somebody needs to see whether you're actually doing that, and it's not only a check, and it's also with the Interoperable Act. Perfect that there will be a board. I will never ever give public funding to anyone if their solutions are not interoperable. This is something the European Commission can do. This is something the government can do. We cannot support services that are not interoperable, that are not aligned with the legislation that we have adopted. So this is my wish and plea for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, my wish would be that the new EU Commission has a new role. I think we need a CIO of the EU. You know, I was talking about different aspects of digitization, interoperability, standards coming closer together. And at the same time, we are facing also within the EU Commission several responsibilities. And there are several boards and initiatives. I think it would be helpful if there would be one leading unit, you know, to coordinate, to be the one to address to if you've got a specific need. I mean, we need to work closer together, and I'm so grateful, Veronica, for your efforts, your whole team. It's great where we are standing now, and we will fill it up with life now. I'm looking forward to do so. And at the same time, I think we need really one contact point for the companies, for the research, for civil society, you know, to address to when it comes to digitization. And I think it's time to change it a little bit within the EU Commission, if I may say so.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I think if from a digital point of view, if we could achieve universal access to the services and achieve that inclusion, that would be a great step. And I agree with the fact that we should actually go from a Brussels-centric to a citizen-centric approach. I liked your example, because obviously we're all coping with that issue of how to onboard everyone. I would dare to put it one notch further, and while pushing the green button would have someone live on screen, I think we should look at a virtual assistant, a digital assistant. And there are many advantages, and I think the progress with AI will assure that it will be a very human-like interaction. So I think it's very much possible. I also see one great advantage to that. I've never seen a virtual assistant being in a bad mood. So I do see the opportunity there, and with that, I think that would be my biggest wish.
Thank you, Veronica.
My wish would be that for the next years that we have the same level of political support from the Commission and from the Member States as we have had up to now in order to implement the Interoperable Europe Act. I take note what Emilia says about implementation, and I agree wholeheartedly, but we've already had the discussion inside the senior levels in Commission departments, thinking, will we be able to persuade our political masters that implementation is enough and they don't have any nice, new, shiny legislation? So that's going to be very interesting in the coming weeks and months to see how the programme of the next Commission evolves. I take note of what you say, Marcus. How we try to manage it in the Commission is we at Digit, we try to drive the digital transformation of the Commission, whereas DG Connect tends to do the digital initiatives that impact on the Member States. So, but let's see what happens in the future. I have no idea. But my wish is that we have a successful implementation of the Act, and we continue to work together so that in the end it is the user, the citizen, who has the benefit, and as we were saying in the beginning, we all become invisible, and it's just assumed that this is how things work.
Thank you very much. So I think that the vision is to become invisible. If I summarize, yeah, so from what we have here, we have seen, and I would also refer to the other part of the images that we are using. You have seen there are a lot of dots, but they are all connected. And I think that is what we have been seeing today, that in fact, we have to become invisible, but why? Because all these connections, they work seamless. And then you don't need to know, you don't need to find how to, but it is just there and it works. And there it works both, being it for the different public administrations at all levels in Europe, but also for the European Commission, where we have some work to do. But also, from what I have heard is that we already have all the ingredients. I haven't heard something like, okay, we are missing something immediately there. So I think now really we have all the ingredients, being it the technology, being it the legislation. And now I think we are all ready to put our hands on and make our citizens a much easier life. So thank you very much for having shared with us all your ideas and your vision. Thank you also for the audience. We'll look also further on all your ideas that you have put in a Slido. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the conference. Just before they leave, I will just invite Marcus because he will give a deeper talk about the future. So thank you very much to all of you. And Marcus, the floor is yours.
Well, I would like to pick up some thoughts we were just reflecting here on the panel and addressing you here in the room, but also in the video conference as the SEMIC community, which is the ground on which we work, but I think on which we also should improve our quality of work, if I may say so. There are so many initiatives, so many engaged people working on solutions, also cross-border. There are so many vendors, European vendors, international vendors, startups, which want to contribute. And at the same time, I think we've got some needs to improvement to give us a structure, not only a technical structure, infrastructure, but also a working structure, process, on which we are able to make this accessible for the other ones, to have more transparency, who's working on what, in which stand is it now, and there I'm thinking about marketplaces, for instance. We are coming out of a time, as we just heard, where we improved the legal framework within Europe, for the whole of Europe. And we as governments have to answer the question, what does this mean to us? Let me pick up AI, the AI Act. I know that, I guess, every member state and the EU Commission is working now on guidelines for their entities, how to use, I don't know, co-pilots or other AI solutions, what we should be aware of. So we are working on the same products in a variety of entities within our member states and on a European level. I'm convinced that in the future we won't have enough people to do this on their islands. Why don't we share it? Why don't we bring a small group of people together who are experts on that and elaborate one guideline? You know, we are in the same legal framework on the way. It's just a small example. We have to make it very concrete. So, and there I see 5 points on which we should work more. The first one is, software solutions. Of course, we've got our specific needs regarding the situation within our governments. We've got our own public services, but at the same time, we are coming in a world where we've got new technologies and possibilities through them. So I'm very glad that there exists already a variety of binational, trinational corporations. I see Stephanie Scher from France here sitting. We are together working between France and Germany, for instance, on a common project which is called Open Desk. Open Desk is an open source working place where we together want to provide our public services an alternative to existing solutions. It's not so much a question of getting rid of another solution, it's more creating more options which fits perfectly to specific needs of public services. So the open workplace is the correct word of our common project. is something we were working in Germany on, and France was and is working on it, and we thought, why don't we do it together? I mean, we've got a great open source community within Europe. Why don't we use these skills by doing it together? And I'm convinced through the way on we are working it and we are doing it, we move also, you know, the whole open source society a little bit, community, in a direction where we bring together those who've got ideas, who's got the know-how with those who need solutions. If we open these kinds of projects to more transparency for other member states, invite other member states to contribute, then I think we will be more successful by driving the digitization in Europe. It is clear to me that the software solutions is one main topic where we should work closer together. Creating marketplaces which are not only open to services which were created by public entities, but also for those who are coming from the economy. Of course, there need to be rules to do so, but this should be elaborated and there should be a consent between the member states on it. The second topic is infrastructure. I know here sitting so many people who know it exactly. We are more and more going into public cloud solutions, private cloud solutions, open source cloud solutions, and every one of us is working on their own infrastructure. I think it's time to come closer together. We have a market power in Germany through the federalism, in France, in Italy, in every member state. When we come together and have a common cloud strategy on a multiple hybrid cloud infrastructure, then we would be in another position to communicate our needs to the market. I mean, many member states are having negotiations with vendors, which is totally okay, and I don't want to go into it, but if we would know from each other what we are talking there and in which direction we are moving, I think it would be easier for us to have, in a brief time, solutions which fits to the needs of us. So infrastructure is important not only to make innovation easier, but also to IT security aspects. I mean, we are coming out of a world where we have many on-premise solutions, and we've got, of course, our own data centers. And if I look at Germany, and I'm responsible also for IT security, I'm not, there's always space to improve, I would say. And I think we've got to overcome the time where, for instance, in Germany, 11,400 cities have their own data center run by sometimes small vendors. I think we should concentrate there, and we are sitting on the edge of cloud computing, and again, working there together is also an IT security aspect. The third one is data. We have the SDG. Of course, we are connecting, and I think it's the right way to do. But I'm not very sure if we already looked closely enough what does SDG mean to the EU wallet, which we are right now implementing. How can we change our processes through the infrastructure again, which is coming up through the EU wallet, which we implement now, and we see the large-scale projects and everything. So having a common view on our architecture, on how we share data, and what do we do with this data, is not answered. Of course, we've got the data acts and framework, but we as public services, as governments, I think we have not looked closely enough right now on how can we use data to improve our, for instance, decision-making processes within the governments. And I'm not only talking about, for instance, yet in my country, on the German data, but a cross-border data infrastructure for governmental work. The fourth topic I would address is innovation. We in our member states, I know, have great innovation partners. I know it from Estonia, I know it from France. When I look at the Campus Cyber, for instance, in Paris, we've got it in Germany through the GovTech campus, for instance. Why don't we bring these entities closer together? Open up our GovTech startup ecosystems so that I, from Germany, might have direct access to Mistral, for instance, or, okay, I shouldn't mention any companies, but, you know, to open up our startup ecosystems to each other. I mean, we are facing a time where where quite often solutions from Germany are implemented in other regions of the world. But when it comes to our governmental work, we should make sure that we have not only hackathons, where we have brief ideas or where we fund AI solutions. We as governments have to make sure that these innovations really come to our needs and in productions. And opening up our ecosystems could create something like a Silicon Valley on GovTech in Europe. And I think we've got so many public services within Europe. I mean, I can imagine we've got the biggest public sector in the world, so that we can really make a difference there. And let me come to the fifth point. There we are talking about skills. I mean, Emilia just mentioned it, that we might have not enough people to run all this by ourselves. And again, when I look at IT security, in Germany, every public agency has its own data security officer. And I know they are not able to look at every aspect of what we are talking here. We've got to bring them in another mode of cooperation. And this is also something we should do on a European level. In our governments, we often have not enough people who know how to implement, for instance, artificial intelligence. And we are depending on companies maybe. But if we bring those together within a cross-border mechanism to work together, to share sites, to implement coming projects, then I think we could make also again the difference. So this is what's, from my point of view, which is coming up to us, if we want or not. We should address these 5 topics. And now is the question, how can we do it? Veronica was talking about the interoperability board. For me, it's really, I've got great hope in this infrastructure, if I may call it like this, a structured way of cooperation between the ones who are responsible for digitization in the member states. I mean, we had an exchange between the CIOs of the member states just a few weeks or months ago. And I had the impression that we are sharing this hope that we come to a very practical way of cooperation through this board. I mean, it's enough time, you know, we must overcome the time of bureaucracy. We've got to put into the center projects like I was mentioned between France and Germany, open workplace environments, video conference systems, and we should do it on a very practical way. So addressing these 5 topics through an interoperability board where people are sitting who are responsible for digitization in their member states could be a good nucleus, if I may call it like this, to work out the very practical, concrete next steps on this journey. We are sitting on a common journey, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware of, but the dependency, the cross-border dependency increases, and we have to not only be aware of them, we have to really move it and create it as we want to have it. And if we don't start, it will be up to others to make decisions for us. And we've got to be more active in this way, and therefore I'm really looking forward for this cooperation in the Interoperability Board, and let's do more. And I'm looking forward to work together, and I invite you actually to contribute to this process, and I'm looking into so many faces of people. And I don't know every one of you, but I see some of them who are really experts in their topics of governmental work, from economy, but also and especially from agencies of public services, also of member states of public services. And therefore, I would be happy if we create this future right now, getting rid of bureaucracy, focusing on the specific topics and work on this. And there, I'm very hopeful that we will achieve and create this future in the sense of the values which we agreed on through the Berlin Declaration. And there we committed that we want participation of people through innovation and digitization. And therefore, let's do it together. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Richter, for that inspiring message and that warm, I would say, call for action. Of course, also a lot of thanks to my panel members and for Natalia for her skilled moderation. I already heard a lot of Oslo in Brussels here this morning, which seems to suggest the importance of standardization for the smooth and seamless transfer and sharing of data and information. What also struck me during the panel is that we appreciate it when our citizens do not know what the digital government is doing, because that seems to suggest that everything is working out fine. So digital public service is a little bit like our own spine when you come to think of it. It is a backbone that supports every single step that we take. It lends us with strength, with stature, and with mobility, and yet we only notice its very existence when our back starts hurting. So we're all here together today, both in Brussels, but also online, to join forces and to make plans to build a backbone as strong as steel to enable a digital government that will render itself, as Veronica Gaffey rightfully said, ultimately completely invisible. Now, may I invite all of you again once more to grab your green and red cards. I have two more questions for you. And the first one goes, are you all having a good time? So if you're enjoying yourself and you're being inspired, can you please show me a green card? Yes, keep them coming, keep them coming. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's already a very warm vote of confidence. For those of you who voted red, please hand in your card on the way out. And my second question would be, and again, it's green for yes, red for no. Who feels it's about time for a coffee break? A lot of green again. I propose to abide by the rules of voting card democracy. Maybe one more minute of your time and attention, please, because after the coffee break, we will be starting our parallel sessions. I assume you've all registered for the session of your liking. I won't be surprised if you have forgotten for which one. Our rooms have a limited capacity and you're quite of a crowd today, so I propose to fill the rooms on a first come, first served basis, or based on the power of persuasion. We plan 2 sessions after the coffee break on the next generation digital government. So in this room, we will have a strategic session on digital-ready policy making. In the silver room, which is just next door, we will indulge in a more technical session around interoperability solutions for automated, proactive public services. The third session on implementing AI, privacy, and the Data Act is taking place at the ARC. It's a bit hidden, so you need to go to a different floor. It's closer to the studios, but you follow the signs that point towards the ARC. For the participants that are joining us remotely, when you're logged into Slido, you are tuned in by default to this plenary session. Should you want to follow a different track, you just need to select the corresponding channel at Slido. So let's grab a cup of coffee. Do get the chance to visit the exhibition. I appreciate that the online participants cannot visit the exhibition, but we made links to the different projects available. I invite you for a half-an-hour coffee break, and I'm looking forward to meeting you again in 30 minutes.